Joined now by Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, who's a Republican on the Senate Budget Committee and is privy to all of this. Senator Johnson, welcome. Good to have you here.
Good morning, Martha. Thanks for having me on.
It's our pleasure. So talk to me. You basically said that you want to delay this process until you see more transparency. You want to know what's going on behind closed doors and what kind of agreements, if any, are being reached, right?
Well, I don't want to delay the process. I want to speed the process along. I mean, Martha, we are bankrupting this nation, and the Senate is not working on the problem at all. The Senate, by law, should have passed a budget back on April 15th. All of the appropriation bills should have already been passed by June 10th. We haven't even started on it. The Democrats have not presented a budget. The budget the president presented was voted down in the Senate 0 to 97. It was so unserious.
Yeah.
So no, what I'm saying is we need to start working on the Senate. And yesterday all I did is I took the Senate floor and said, until we start dealing with this problem, I'm going to use all the powers that I have as a U.S. Senator to start gumming up the works until we start addressing the problem.
Yeah, you're a former private businessman. You've been in office about 6 months, so you're very new to the whole Washington scene. How shocked are you by your inability in some ways to affect the process?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not shocked. I've been watching Washington for 32 years as I ran my manufacturing plant. I knew Washington is broken. And trust me, in the last 6 months, nothing I've seen here has changed my opinion. But that's just the problem. This is business as usual in Washington. The fact that we're going to leave the fate of the American economy, the fate of our financial future in the hands of a couple people, meeting behind closed doors, far out of the view of the American public, that's not the way this process should work.
Let's take a look. There was a poll that was done a little while back that asked people, do you think that, the world is going to end, essentially, if indeed we hit this August 2nd deadline and we don't raise the debt ceiling? 53% said no. They think that's an exaggeration. What do you think? You're on the Budget Committee. What do you think will happen if we hit this August 2nd deadline and we don't raise the debt ceiling?
I don't think it is the end of the world, particularly not if we plan for it. And that's why I wrote a letter to President Obama, signed by 22 of my Senate colleagues, saying, it's irresponsible to assume that you're going to get an increase in the debt ceiling. Let's put in a contingency plan to have to live within our means. And Martha, living within our means would be $2.6 trillion.
Right.
That's $800 billion more than we spent just 10 years ago. It wouldn't be the end of the world. It would pay for all the interest on the debt. There'd be no chance of a default. It'd pay for 100% of Social Security and still leave $1.6 trillion available for all other essential spending. So no, it doesn't have to be a crisis if we plan for it. And I tell you what I fear far more than kind of pushing this to the limit is what happens when we actually hit a Greek-like debt crisis. When we're no longer the reserve currency, when we can't continue to print money to delay our day of reckoning. I fear our day of reckoning. So we need to actually step up the plate and start solving the problem. And one of the ways you do that, Martha, is, the Senate Republicans are going to roll out our support for the balanced budget amendment today. We've got to put in those types of hard spending caps, that type of limit on the federal government if we're going to really solve this problem.
All right, we'll see where you get with that. We'll be watching very closely. Senator Johnson, come back and tell us how things are progressing, if you would. We'd love it.
Will do. Thanks for having me on.
Good.